Next question. Are minute takers allowed to speak during a meeting? And if so, what are the criteria for this? Now, I'm going to pass this question from Hank to Julie.
Hi. I think if you trust somebody enough to allow them to take the minutes of your board meeting, you should trust them enough to allow them to open their mouths when they need to. And usually if a board minute taker is trying to keep track of a discussion that's gone backwards and forwards, and they get to the end of it and they're thinking, I don't know what we decided, I'm perfectly happy for that person to say, excuse me, could we just clarify the resolution for the minutes? And most boards would much rather stop and spend a minute of their precious board time rather than have every single director toing and froing by email afterwards because they weren't happy with what was in the minutes. So that's one instance. Another instance is when very often your minute taker or your company secretary is also running the list of who's supposed to be coming in and out of the boardroom to present and talk to papers. So they might well interrupt and say, excuse me, Mr. Chair, but the Solicitor General's here. Shall we adjourn this discussion and keep to that person's schedule because she's really important? And then when we get to the end of her session with us, we can resume and I'll be able to tell you where we were. They won't need to say that last bit. You'll just know that they'll be able to tell you, right, this is where we've got to in the discussion. So those sorts of interjections I'm quite happy with when they are reporting on company secretarial matters and the progress thereof. So often during the matters arising, they will have something to say. But what they should not do is take part in board decisions. They might give information to the board about the limits of their power or the way they exercise it, but they don't take part in the decision. And when they do, they very often get into trouble.
Thanks, Julie.
Can I just chime in there, Julie? Because Danica and I are in very unique positions in that we are professional board secretaries and we work across many different industries and different boards. So quite often the board, I don't know if Danica has experienced this, but I certainly do, and that quite often my boards will say, Jen, have you got any insight? What's happening in your other boards? How do your other boards manage that? And so we're not in the 1950s anymore. We are actually valuing our board secretaries for the information and the knowledge that they have and that they can bring. And it means that those board members don't actually have to have all of that industry knowledge, all of that governance knowledge, all of the knowledge about their shareholders agreements and their delegations of authorities, etc., because they can rely on the company secretary to speak up when necessary about those things, and they've got value to add.
Absolutely. Everyone who's got an invitation to speak has the right to speak. Can't ask them a question and then expect them not to answer and say, oh, sorry, I'm not going to tell you the answer because we're in a board meeting and I don't speak at board meetings.
But at the end of the day, you're going to take her as a human being. And if you're sitting in the kind of meeting where you're not allowed to speak, then you're not going to get people like Jen and I.
No,
certainly not.
You'll get people who aren't as good. And that's the thing. You want your company... I often ask company secretaries when we're doing something, have you ever seen a board do this quickly and easily? Because sometimes they have, but they're just politely watching us go round in circles. And yeah, if you don't trust your company secretary's judgment, get a different company secretary and give the one you've got training and support so they develop that judgment in the future.